Good morning. Namaste to each of you. Thank you for joining me this morning to honor your mind and your body and your spirit. Let's just take a moment to become present, finding a nice, comfortable seated position on a block or a pillow, blanket, something that allows the back of your spine and the back of your neck to sit nice and long and tall, opening up your chest and opening up your diaphragm and opening up your heart. Let's gently close our eyes and soften any thought. Soften our eyes. Let's soften our shoulders and soften our heart. Observe your breath as it is, soft and gentle, breathing life into you with each inhale and relaxation with each exhale. Feel the grace of being present, returning to that awareness again and again. Let me open your eyes. For this morning's intention, you may think of a positive word or phrase to have with you on your mat and perhaps carry with you throughout the day. This morning's intention is actually, I'm going to deviate from our 8 limbs of yoga because this week is leading into Thanksgiving. We'll come back to the last limb of yoga next week, but this week, the intention I'd like to talk about is giving thanks. An article from the Harvard Medical School titled, "Giving Thanks Can Make You Happier," discusses the fact that for many, this time of year can be tinged with sadness, anxiety, feeling lost, or overwhelmed. Their research suggests that one aspect of Thanksgiving season can actually lift spirits, and it's built right into the holiday, giving thanks. Giving thanks reminds us of many things going right in our lives and the abundance of gifts we already have. Giving thanks leads to feeling grateful, which leads to contentment, a more persistent happiness. And if you remember our second limb of yoga, the Niyamas, contentment is one of the guidelines. So you can start your journey by writing a thank you note to yourself. Thank yourself for taking care of yourself and for participating in activities that keep you healthy. Write a thank you note to someone else for what they contribute to your life. You can keep a gratitude journal, recording and reflecting on things that you are grateful for. Oprah Winfrey, I heard this years and years ago. One of her, and she credits it as a success tool, has been to keep a grateful journal. And when she records at night. So that puts her in a position that during the day, she has to find things, be very mindful of things to be grateful for. So at night she can write, I think she puts down 3 things that she's grateful for in her journal. So that's a wonderful tool to kind of keep yourself in that mode, from giving thanks to gratefulness to contentment. So, actually, there's one quote. It's from a gentleman by the name of William Ward, and I thought his quote is quite special. His quote is, "Feeling grateful and not expressing it is like wrapping a present and not giving it." So we'll reflect on that for a minute. And then for our pranayama today, thought we'd do the sama Vritti, which is the equal length breath. And again, that book, Breathe, Breath, Breath, I always get it wrong, it's without the E, by James Nestor, suggests a full and proper breath would be 5.5 seconds. So take a nice long inhale and long exhale. And we'll do that during our meditation. And I have an affirmation for you for our meditation. It is, I am thankful for, and then you fill in the blank. I am thankful for, and fill in the blank. And you can come up with one or a bunch of them, and I'll meet you on the mat. Open your eyes now. And um, again, for a couple of the poses, a block might be handy to have. I can down here. You may need it. Um, we'll start this morning doing shoulder shrugs. So just kind of loosening up the top of our body. We're going to raise our shoulders gently up toward our ears, and then roll them back, bring them down toward the mat, and then roll them forward and again up toward the ears and coming back down. You can synchronize that with a nice inhale and exhale on the way down. And we're doing this to try to loosen up any tension we may have, not cause the tension. We'll just do that, and you can at any point change directions if you like. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that gratitude journal. I've never been one to keep a journal, nor a gratitude journal. But when I was reviewing the script last night, and I'm thinking, okay, practice what you preach, Terry. What 3 things can you be grateful for or thankful for? And we actually yesterday went down to Mad River Valley, and on the way there, we stopped at a local bakery, Red Hen, and we were commenting, my husband and I, Mark, to each other on how amazing Vermont is in terms of bread options. I mean, Red Hen has wonderful bread, and there's so many that are just incredible bread bakers. And then we started talking about the cheeses of Vermont. And of course, they just had the World Cheese Awards, and Vermont cleaned up as usual. And then we get in the car and we head to the valley. And we were just saying how beautiful Vermont is. And it's like, you know, you may be mindful of being grateful for things, but just kind of reviewing that last night, it was like, yeah, I'm grateful that Vermont is so special. So maybe, you don't have to write it down, just kind of be mindful of things that you're grateful for. Alrighty, let's bring our fingertips to the mat, tips of our fingertips, and then we'll do our seated sun breaths with chest openers. So slowly inhaling, bringing our hands up overhead. Big inhale, palms come together, and then slowly exhale, bringing them down to heart center. And then opening them wide. And then on the exhale, bringing your hands back together again. Slowly. Inhale up. And go with that 5.5 seconds. And then exhale down. That's what James Nestor in his book suggests. Nice, deep, long breaths. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale open. Exhale close. Inhale up. Exhale down. I will do that one last time. Inhale up. Exhale down. Inhale open. Exhale close. Inhale up. And exhale down. Keeping our right fingertips on the mat, we're going to lift our left arm up so it's right along the side of our ear. We'll do seated side stretches. So we'll take our right elbow and bend it and bring it down toward the mat, tipping our torso over to the right. And we do this a couple times, so you don't have to go all the way over the first time. And then inhaling, coming back up. Nice and straight. Just check your alignment. And then tapping your right finger on the mat, bending your right elbow toward the mat. We'll tip the torso over to the right again. Maybe just adjusting a little bit more so you're just a little bit more into the curve. And then coming back up. And again, just with your breath, find that spot where you can still maintain a breathing spot. So last time, fingertips on the mat, elbow comes down toward the mat, bending our torso to the right, and being able to continue to breathe. And then coming back up again. We'll do that on the other side. So left fingertips come to the mat, right arm comes up and along the side of your ear. And we'll bend the left elbow down toward the mat, tipping our torso over to the left. You ease into this. So I'm not going to go too far this first time, coming straight back up. And then we'll do that again. Fingertips on the mat, left elbow coming down towards the mat, tipping over to the left. Maybe skosh further. And then coming back up. And one last time, fingertips on the mat, elbow reaching down toward the mat, tipping our torso over to the left, continuing to breathe. And then coming back up again. Okay, let us go onto our hands and knees into tabletop. Tabletop has us putting our wrists right below our shoulders, fingers spread out, index finger reaching toward the front of the mat. Knees are right below your hips and navel's tucked to your spine, creating a nice flat back. Then with our Vritti looking straight down, we're going to turn our head to the right, kind of turning our gaze to the right. And then back to center again, looking straight down, and then turning over to the left. And then coming back straight down, gently putting a little pressure into your hands, kind of pushing into your mat so that your arms are nice and straight. There's space between your shoulders and your ears. Again, over to the right. And then back down to center. And gently over to the left. Back down to center. And then one last time over to the right. Back to center. And over to the left. Back to center. Then we'll go into our cat-cows. So we'll drop the crown of our head down, dropping our tailbone down, rounding our back for cat. And then lifting our head and tailbone up, sending our gaze straight ahead for cow. Exhale, going back to cat, rounding our back, really stretching our spine out. Then inhaling, coming back up, sending our gaze straight ahead, out in front of us, tailbone up, and then rounding our back, coming into cat pose. And we'll do a few more of these and just go at your own pace, inhaling, exhaling as you move from cat to cow. And then coming back to tabletop. We're going to take our right foot, extend it down to the bottom of the mat, landing on the ball of our foot. You can even check that landing on the ball of the foot by lifting your left knee off the mat. Just kind of make sure that your foot's engaged with the mat, heels pushing down to the bottom of the mat. Then let's take the right leg and move it off the mat over to the left. So to the left, and it comes off the mat. And then we'll send our gaze back down to our right foot. And then we'll bring that right foot back onto the mat, down to the bottom of the mat, keeping it there. And then we're going to kickstand our left foot out and off the mat. We're going to come into modified plank pose. So the right foot stays down at the bottom of the mat. Left foot's been kickstand out. And then our left wrist is right below our left shoulder. And we'll sweep our right hand up to the sky, following it with our gaze. Really opening up our chest, wide open. And then we'll bring that hand slowly back down to the mat. And we'll do that 2 more times. So you can go at your own pace. Sweeping the hand up to the sky, following it with our gaze. And then sweeping the hand further back, really opening up the chest and opening up the heart. And then coming back down. And one last time. Sweeping it up to the sky. Sweeping it back, opening the heart, and then back down to the mat. And then we'll come back to tabletop. We're going to take our knees and move them over to the right a little bit and have them touching one another. And then we'll take the right knee up off the mat, cross it over the left leg, and bringing it down on the mat. So it's on the other side of your left leg. And this is where the block will come in handy. We're going to come into cow face pose, the bottom half. So you can take your block and set it between your legs. And your feet will kind of flipper out to the sides. And you bring your seat down onto the block. You have your right foot on the left side of the mat and your left foot on the right side of the mat. Back is nice and straight and tall. And if you like, you can maybe challenge yourself a little bit. Test it out. Test out the waters. And see if you can remove the block and gently ease down to the mat. And we'll just do the bottom version of cow face pose. The top version, which is fingertips touching fingertips. We don't need that today. So just kind of breathing in if you feel a little bit of tension there, just kind of breathing through it, sending nourishing breaths to your body. All right, we'll come back to tabletop. Walk yourself back there, and we'll do that on the other side. So sending our left foot down to the bottom of the mat, landing on the ball of the foot. You can test that out by lifting your right knee up off the mat. Make sure that it's nice and engaged in the mat, heels pushing to the back of the mat. And then we'll move the left foot over to the right, bringing it off the mat. And then sending our gaze to our left foot, which I have conveniently blocked with the block. So I know it's behind there somewhere. And then we'll bring that left foot back to the mat, keeping it down at the bottom of the mat. We'll take the right foot and kickstand it out side of the mat, keeping the right shoulder right above the right wrist. We'll come into modified plank pose. And we'll do 3 nice and slow sweeping of the left hand up to the sky. following it with our gaze. And then once it reaches the sky, just bring it back a little bit more so you're really opening up your chest. And then bringing it slowly back down to the mat. We'll do 2 more of those. So gently sweeping our hand, nice slow-mo up to the sky, a little further back. Opening up our chest and our heart. And then back down to the mat. And one last time, sweeping it up. And over, opening up our heart. And then back down. We'll come back to tabletop. We'll take both knees and kind of move them over to the left side of the mat, bringing the knees together. And then lifting the left knee, crossing it over the right leg, and landing the left knee on the mat. And flipping our feet out to the edges of the mat. And we'll walk our hands back. And again, you can use the block to sit on, or if you want to try to ease down. Each side's going to feel a little different. Now this one's a little tighter than the other side for me. And then just gently send nourishing breaths to any tension you may feel. Maybe just try experimenting with relaxing that lower part of your body, just mindfully relaxing it. Just telling your body, ease into this pose. Alrighty, well then we'll walk back up to tabletop. Tucking both toes under, we'll walk our hands back and come into a squat. And then pushing down into balls of our feet, come up to mountain pose. We'll bring the toes so they're lined up with the straight edge of the mat. And then we'll lift both sets of toes up off the mat, spreading them as far apart as you can. And then bringing them down into the mat and lifting your heels up off the mat. And then bringing your heels back down, really connecting with the mat, connecting to the floor, to the ground, to the earth, feeling that grounding sensation that mountain pose provides, that strength, the stability, and stillness. So with that, we have the essentials of good posture built into the mountain pose. So our legs are nice and straight and strong. Knees have a little flex in them, just as our life should. Navel's tucked to the spine. Shoulders are relaxed and rolled back. Bottom of our spine to the top of our neck should be nice and long and straight. Crown of our head is reaching up to the sky. But for me, maybe others, I have to kind of tuck my chin in and back a little to really create that nice long line with the back of my neck and spine. And then the crown of the head reaching to the sky. We send both arms up overhead. And then exhaling, we're going to bring both hands down to the mat, bending your knees as we go. Just take a few moments here to check in with yourself. See how that first sequence went. Be thankful for your body for doing it. Give thanks. And we'll bring our hands to our shins, straighten out that spine and back of our neck, sending our gaze straight down for half forward fold. And then the crown of our head comes down toward the mat. And we'll just take a moment here to dangle. Feel the gravity of the earth gently holding us and guiding us. And sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. We'll bring our hands up overhead, and as we do, we're going to come up onto our tippy toes. And then slowly with control, lowering our hands down to our sides, lowering our heels down to the mat. And we'll do that a couple more times. Gently inhale, lifting our hands up to the sky, lifting our heels up off the mat. And slowly lowering our hands down, lowering our heels down. And sweeping one more time up, coming up onto our tippy toes. And then slowly coming down, lowering our heels toward the mat. And now keep sending our hands down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. Hands come to the shins, nice flat back, really stretching out that spine. Gaze straight down. And then sending the crown of our head down toward the mat. Sweeping our hands, inhaling as we come up. We're going to bring our hands up overhead and bring them together. And then we're going to bring the hands to our heart center. We're going to do leg lifts, and you can do your version that works for you. We're going to bring the right leg up off the mat and put it in a right angle, as if you're sitting in a chair. And then at this point, we're just going to try to lock in on our Vritti, sending our gaze straight ahead, finding the Tritaka, something stable to gaze on. Really feel stableness. Then we're going to bring our hands around our knees, interlacing our fingers, and bringing the knee up toward the chest. Just bring it up as far as you can to keep your stability. Your spine's nice and straight. Shoulders are rolled back. And then we can release that. We'll sweep our hands up again with a nice big inhale. Arms come together. Palms come to heart center. And we'll do that on the other side. Again, lifting your leg up into that chair pose. Sending your gaze straight ahead, that Vritti of straight ahead. The Tritaka is finding an object of stillness. Got a little spot on my window frame. That's working for me. And then I'm going to interlace my fingers around my left knee and guide that left leg toward my chest. Spine nice and straight and long. Shoulders roll back. And then release. Good on you. And we'll sweep our hands up again. Hands come up overhead. And then bringing them down to the mat, bending our knees as we go. And then bringing them to our shins for a nice half forward fold. Letting the crown of our head down toward the mat. And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Arms come up and together. And then we'll take our hands and lower them, bringing them behind our hips and interlacing the fingers behind our back. And we'll just relax our shoulders, roll them down toward the mat. We'll do a forward fold with a yoga bind. And you can, again, judge what's best for you. So you may want to stop keeping the knees flexed as much as it's comfortable for you. You may want to stop where you're in a half forward fold. Or if you want, you can continue on dropping the crown of your head down toward the mat, sending your hands up to the sky, and keeping that flex in your knees. And then coming back up again. Releasing your hands, sweeping them up overhead with a big inhale. And then exhale, sending them down to the mat, bending your knees as you go. Hands come to your shins, nice flat back or half forward fold. And then send the crown of your head down toward the mat. And sweeping your hands one last time, all the way up, overhead. Palms will come together. And then send your palms down to your heart center. And then send your palms to the back of your hips. And we'll go into supported back bend. Your feet are about hip width apart. Fingertips pointing down, palms are on the back of your hips. Shoulders are relaxed again, rolled back, tucking the chin to your chest. Just drop your shoulders back. Find that sweet spot where your breath is nice and steady. And then we'll come back up again. Well done, everyone. All right, moving on. We'll sweep our hands up overhead. Big inhale, nice exhale as we're bringing the hands all the way down to the mat, planting the hands into the mat, sending both feet back to bottom of the mat, coming into plank pose. So plank pose, our wrists are right below our shoulders. Navel's tucked to the spine, so your hips are elevated slightly, no saggy bellies, please. Heels are pushing to the back of the mat. And then we're going to do what I think is called climb the mountain, or I've seen called staircase or stairway. But anyway, we're going to bring the right knee in and then send it back. Bring the left knee in and send it back. So we'll just do a series of that as if we're climbing a mountain. Nice and steady. And then we'll stop, come back to plank pose, and then bring your right knee in back of your right wrist, landing it on the mat. We'll flip our right foot over to the left side of the mat and slide the right foot down coming onto the top of the, I'm sorry, sliding the left foot down, coming on top of the left foot into pigeon pose. We'll just be proud pigeon here, opening our chest, opening our heart. And then we'll tuck the left toe under, come back to plank pose. And then knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga down to the mat. Once we've reached the mat, with our fingertips right below our shoulders, we'll just lift our chin and chest up off the mat. Lift our hands up off the mat. And then send both chin and chest back down to touch the mat. And that was baby cobra. Coming into regular cobra, lift the chin, chest, and gently push down in your hands, keeping your elbows tucked to your side. Come into regular cobra. And then back down again, chest and chin touching the mat. And the last one we'll do is up dog. So the tops of your feet firmly in the mat, hands underneath your shoulders. You're gonna fully extend your arms, coming up and lifting your torso off the mat. And then flip your feet and come into downward dog. So from up dog, we'll go to downward dog. You may find doing that in 2 moves, going from up dog to tabletop, then to downward dog might work better for you. So we'll just walk our dog for a moment. And fingers are spread wide apart, index finger pointing to the top of the mat. Arms straight, chest reaching toward the thigh, which will elevate the hips slightly. We're pedaling our feet. And then we'll sweep the right foot up to the sky, 3-legged dog, and then bring it back down again, pedal out. And then sweep it up again to the sky, and then back down to the mat, and pedal out. And this time, the third one, we're going to bring that right leg forward so that the hand is the foot is right between the hands. So you bend your knee, your right knee, sending it forward, bringing it between your 2 hands, coming into runner's lunge. And then we'll set our left hand on the mat, sweeping our right hand up to the sky, following it with our gaze, and then bringing it back down. Pivot the back foot and rise up to warrior 1. And our knees right above the ankle, back foot touching the mat fully and at an angle. And then we'll bring our hands down behind our back, interlacing the fingers and setting those knuckles down toward the mat. So really opening up our chest. So it's a yoga lock with warrior 1. And then we'll release our hands and we'll pivot so that we're in warrior 2. Front knee still over the ankle. You want to wiggle your back foot so that's in a nice warrior 2 stance. Arms are out at shoulder height. We'll send our gaze gently over to our right fingertips. And then we'll straighten our front leg, reach our right fingertips forward, and then send them down toward the mat for triangle pose. Really opening up our chest. And then we'll bring the left hand down to the mat, pivoting into runner's lunge. And then bring the left foot to meet the right foot, forward fold. And then sweeping our hands all the way up overhead. Palms come together, palms come to heart center. Okay. We'll do that on the other side. So sweeping our hands all the way up overhead again. Big inhale. And then sending our hands all the way down, planting them into the mat. We'll send both feet back into plank pose. And then we'll do that climbing the mountain by bringing the left knee toward the chest, right knee toward the chest. And just keep doing those gentle steps. I did have a song come to mind when I was doing this in practice. It's like the Thanksgiving song, Over the River and Through the Woods. You kind of hum that to yourself if you like. All right, and then stop being in plank pose. We're going to bring our left knee right to the back of our left wrist, setting it down on the mat, and coming in to pigeon pose. Then your right leg sliding back, top of our right foot comes down, touching the mat. We'll walk our hands back, deep proud pigeon. And then walk our hands forward a little bit, tucking our right toes under, come back to plank pose, and then knees, chest, chin, or chaturanga down to the mat. Keeping our fingertips right below our shoulders. We're gonna lift the chin and chest and lift the hands off the mat. And then set both chin and chest back down on the mat. And then lift the chin and chest off the mat, pushing down to the arms or to the hands, keeping the elbows tucked to your ribs, coming into cobra. And then coming back down to the mat, chin and chest touching the mat. And then we'll go into up dog. And again, we'll go from up dog to downward dog. But if you'd like, you can go from upward or up dog to tabletop to downward dog. So, okay, we'll keep the tops of our feet connected with the mat. Hands are below the shoulders, pushing down in the mat, fully extending our arms, coming into up dog, flipping our feet over, and then coming into downward dog. We'll walk their dog out for a little bit. We'll sweep that left foot up toward the sky and then back down and walk it out just a little bit in your downward dog. And again, sweep that left leg up to the sky And then back down and walk your dog out. And the third one, you're going to bring the left foot between the two hands, so bending the knee, lifting the foot off the mat. Oops. Bringing the left foot, coming into runner's lunge. Place the right hand firmly on the mat, sweeping the left hand up to the sky, following it with our gaze, and then bringing that left hand back down to the mat. Pivoting the back foot down, so the back foot heels at a 45-degree angle, but the foot is fully on the mat. And we'll sweep our hands up to warrior one. And then bring our hands down and around behind us, interlacing our fingers behind our hips, coming into a yoga lock. And just sending those fingertips down toward the mat, really opening up our chest. And then we'll release the hands, pivot our torso to the long side of the mat, coming into warrior two. Arms come up to shoulder height. And we'll send our gaze gently over to our left fingertips. And straighten our front leg out. Reach our left fingers forward and then send them down, coming into triangle pose. Keeping our chest nice and open, our heart nice and open. And then bringing the right hand down to the mat, coming back to runner's lunge. Bringing the right foot up to meet the left, forward fold. And then sweeping our hands all the way up to the sky. Palms come together, palms come to heart center. We'll take our little toes, bring them to the edge of the mat, angle our heels in at a 45-degree. Hands are in Anjali Mudra, prayer pose. We'll lower our hips down toward the mat, opening our knees to each side, bringing our torso between the knees, resting the elbows on the inner part of the knees to a wide-legged stance or a squat. And then we'll bring the hands down to the mat. We're going to come to tabletop. And your block might be needed for this next one. So with the tabletop, wrists right below the shoulders. Knees can be together or maybe hip width apart to allow for the block. We're going to come into hero's pose. So we're going to send our hips back to sit on our ankles. And if this is uncomfortable, you can widen your legs just a little bit more and sit on a block. But if you don't have the block with you, I would suggest sitting on your ankles. I know some people will open their legs and sit all the way down to the mat. And that's fine if your knees will allow for it. When I protest greatly when that happens. So Then we're going to take our hands, interlace them behind our hips. Again, relaxing the shoulders so that our chest opens up, our heart opens up. And then we'll take our interlaced fingers and bring them over to the left side of our waist. And then back down to center, kind of reaching toward the mat. And then bringing the hands over to the right side of the waist. And then back again, down toward the mat. Over to the left. And then back again to center, extending them down toward the mat. And then bringing them to the right waist. And then back to center, extending them down toward the mat. And one last time on the left. And then back to center. We'll release our fingers. And then finding your feet, kind of just walking your fingers down your feet so that they reach the toes. So your fingertip to toe tip. And then we're going to bring the hands down to the mat. So your fingertips and your toe tips still stay in contact. And the whole hand comes all the way down to the mat. And if you're on a block, that might be a little tricky, so do the best you can. And this is a modified camel. So we're just going to move our hips up gently toward the sky, as best as you can. And then bring them back down. We'll come back to tabletop and swing your legs over to one side. Come and sit down on your mat. And we're going to roll down, your choice. Legs can be straight, legs can be bent, hands can be tucked under for express roll. Let's see. I'm going to just have my knees bent today. And slowly lowering down to the mat, connecting with the mat one vertebra at a time. A little fast. That's okay. And then bringing the knees to the chest, giving them a nice hug, rocking back and forth, massaging your lower back, maybe even taking your toes and making nice big circles. One direction, and then the other direction. Planting your feet on the mat, hip width apart. And we're going to do some bridge poses, but we're going to do them with our arms not alongside of us, but we're going to raise our arms and bring them overhead. So we'll start with a very gentle lift of the bridge pose. So tucking your navel to your spine, creating that little bowl in your tummy, then feeling the connection of your feet to the earth, pushing down in your heels. As you raise your hips up, we're going to raise our arms up and send them overhead to the back of the mat. So you may not get very high on the bridge pose part. That's fine. And then we'll raise our arms up and bring them down to the mat as we lower one vertebra at a time back down in bridge pose. And we'll do that a few more times. Again, you don't need to go very high with this. We'll just kind of create a nice gentle flow of movement. So again, tucking your navel to your spine, creating that bowl, pushing down your feet, pushing down as you raise your hands up and over as you're raising your hips up to the sky. And then slowly lowering back down, sending your Hands back to their original position. We'll do that one more time. And creating that bowl, pushing down your feet, lifting your hips up to the sky, lifting your hands up to the sky and overhead. And then back down again. We'll bring our knees to our chest, give them a nice hug again. Extend our arms in both directions out from our shoulders and come into reclined twist. So we'll lower our knees our knees to the right. Right and left knees go to the right. And once they've landed, you can gently send your gaze over to your left fingertips. And then bring your gaze back to center. Lift your legs back to center. Exhale, lowering your knees to the left. And when they've landed, slowly turning your gaze to the right, looking at your right fingertips. And slowly turning your head back to center. Legs come back to center, and then they extend to the bottom of the mat. And prepare for Shavasana. So your heels go out to each corner. Arms are alongside with the palms up. Take some nice deep inhales and let them just flow out with your exhale. You could open your mouth with the exhale and just let your body relax and sink into the mat. Do a few of those. Turning the corners of your mouth up toward each ear. Thanking yourself for being present today. The poem I have for you today is by Robert Frost, and it's titled My November Guest. And just as an aside, I tried to understand this poem a little further, and evidently Robert Frost and his family had bouts of depression, and November was a particularly tough month for Robert Frost as his mother died in that month. And so the words of this poem talk about sorrow, but also seeing beauty. So it's being grateful, even though you're in a place that may not be grateful for, but being grateful for the beauty in what surrounds you. So again, My November Guest by Robert Frost. My sorrow, when she's here with me, thinks these dark days of autumn rain are beautiful as days can be. She loves the bare, the withered tree. She walks the sodden pasture lane. Her pleasure will not let me stay. She talks and I am fain to list. She's glad the birds are gone away. She's glad her simple worsted gray is silver now with clinging mist. The desolate, deserted trees, the faded earth, the heavy sky, the beauties she so truly sees. She thinks I have no eye for these, and vexes me for reason why. Not yesterday, I learned to know the love of bare November days before the coming of the snow. But it were vain to tell her so, and they are better for her praise.